I wish they'd bring back like classic Black Friday shopping and like Christmas shopping.
Yeah, where you got to go with brass knuckles or else you ain't getting out of there alive.
Man, what's the point of giving my loved ones gifts that they didn't know I nearly lost an eye over it?
Or took an eye.
Right.
It's part of the gift. You're like, here's an extra kidney. I don't know if you like have like renal failure or what.
Right. So if you ever need a new heart, I took one off of a mother of 3 for that Tickle Me Elmo that my nephew wanted.
But trust me, that chick was about to steal your gift.
She was not stealing it. She had hands on. So I had to get hands on.
Right.
Look, I don't care who it is. I believe in equal rights and equal lefts. Okay.
Right.
I will come after somebody
for
my gifts.
I do not, only punch twice on the right side. I also punch twice on the left side.
So, yeah, exactly. I'll make sure everything's evened up. I'm basically like, I'm a curmudgeon like Boomer Energy back in my day, but only when I used to have to go 9 rounds for my capitalistic goods.
Yeah, I remember this was like maybe freshman year of college.
Wait. Can you save that for the hot open?
I guess.
Oh, what do you mean, I guess? Like, this is so long of a cold open.
Fine. Welcome back to class, everybody. I am one of the hosts, Ethan.
I am your holly jolly Professor Ricky. It's that time. That's right. It's a literal day of Christmas episode. And okay, we were just talking about how the way shopping used to be for post Thanksgiving and early before Christmas, and it used to be a fucking brawl. So you back in freshman year of college, you had said.
Yeah, so this was back when you like actually had to wait outside of places to get things on time.
The days. Oh, the days.
Yeah, I think I went to like Target at like 8 p.m. the night before or something and had to wait the whole time.
Hell yeah.
Just to like get a TV or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just, reminiscing back on the olden days. But there was a lot of like people cutting in line and shit.
Oh, I don't stand for that.
Yeah,
not that day.
It was pretty, it got a little, let's just say dicey. The other, another one was like right when my college had won the national championship in football.
Oh, okay.
You could go to like a sporting goods store and they'd have like championship shirts or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
So everyone would go like the night you won and you'd just wait in line. And there was so many people trying to cut in line and like buy like 1,000 shirts. And everyone's like, yo, what the fuck?
Degenerates, all of them. Degenerates.
Just reminiscent of the get your lights knocked out for buying shit times,
back when shoppers were real shoppers,
Right.
They were shopping and slapping everyone all over the place. Slopping and shopping. But speaking of Christmas, we decided what could we do? A quick Weebology session in the spirit of Christmas, and we decided, okay, we a lot of our listeners be Americans, some very international, but European at most. What is Christmas in Japan like? Or more rather, what is the history of Christmas in Japan? How did it start? Where did it come? Like, how did it kind of evolve? And what are some of the current traditions that they currently practice that maybe we do or don't know about? I know some people know some of the bigger ones that are more of a food variety. We'll get into that for sure. But we wanted to start with, how did Christmas get there? When did it start? So I think, Ethan, it kind of dated back to like the late 1500s, I believe.
Yes, exactly. I think it was 1558 or something similar.
Yeah,
maybe
so
1580.
It was first introduced in Japan during the Sengoku period, like the Warring States period. And it was a lot of social upheaval, a lot of regime changes or potential regime changes that were quickly snuffed out later. But it is very widely considered that the missionary Francis Xavier introduced Christianity into the Japanese culture, that the first Christmas service was held in 1552, and it kind of was celebrated with like gift tiding by giving donations to less privileged farmers. So it was more kind of like a very communal, giving time, even all the way then. This did not last long.
Yeah. It was let's just say a bright, quick romance with the Christmas spirit back in the 1550s.
Yeah, it caught like wildfire, very, very, Christianity in general, and therefore Christmas caught like wildfire. But the Tokugawa shogunate was very, they weren't down with the old J-man. They were thinking like, these Christian hooligans are going to absolutely take over our regime. They're going to cause an uprising. Which they thought that of anybody, any organized movement, and Christianity was no different. So with that new era of isolation kind of being added and spread across Japan, that led to very widespread persecution of Christians over that fear of overthrow, to the point where it's a very famous event in Japanese history that 26 Christians were legit crucified and then, displayed, and that outward disappearance of public practice of like Christian faith just happened overnight. Like It was like night and day within weeks. And that they call it the 26 martyr event. And I went and looked at like crucifixion. That's very, very off from what I would maybe think Japanese to do. No. Apparently they were doing crucifixions from the 12th to 16th century. This moment kind of like nearly was the biggest event after they kind of just put that one on the shelf for a while. And they decided to dust that little old beauty off for World War II. Because they were, pretty, I would say, not to put too fine of a point on it, just a little harsh. Just a little harsh.
Mean.
They were real
mean guys.
Real meanie weenies during World War II. But yeah, it kind of just, Christianity and therefore Christmas kind of just took a back seat for a very, very long time.
Yeah, so I want to work in here a little bit. This is, like you said, during a time period where they're in complete isolationism.
Yeah, the walls up high and thick. Yeah.
Right, so it was about 250-ish years. And then we kind of see this interesting shift in Japanese culture where they've gone away from the shogunate and they've given the power back to the emperor.
Good, finally.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But for Japan, this was good because this is the period called the Meiji Restoration.
Huge for Japan.
People have heard, of course, about the Meiji Restoration a lot, but I figured I'd give you a little bit of context so that you guys can kind of figure out what's going on around this time period. This emperor essentially named himself Meiji, which means honorable restoration.
I love that, yeah.
Renovation, revolution, regeneration, yada, yada, yada. But what essentially happens is in 1853, Commodore Matthew C. Perry from the U.S. Arrives in a bunch of warships.
Holy shit!
Into Japanese ports, and basically is like, open the fuck up.
Please stop being closed. We have boats with guns.
Sort of exactly what happened. So what they had been on the sly trading with the Dutch and a few other like European countries. And so America gets wind of this, comes in, and basically is like, open up.
They want to slice that Nippon pie, baby.
Right. So the hope was that they would conclude in a treaty that would open up the ports. Perry had concluded that the treaty that would open up 2 Japanese ports, Shimoda and Hakodate, only for material support like wood, water, food, coal for U.S. ships. Basically, at this point, America is trying to basically impose like presence in the I guess Pacific, right?
Sure.
And so they need as many places to dock and get supplies and stuff to really just like fuel their military and navy overall. A lot of times in pretty much every war, like the country or whoever army that has the best like supply lines will do the best in the war. So it just kind of like makes sense why they would go after something like this. So there was basically a bunch of treaties that they ended up making. The one that ended up sticking, they are sort of deemed as the unequal treaties. So basically Japan gets like skull fucked in every single deal. Okay. And this is what eventually leads to World War II. Is they're overall like economically getting demolished. But what is interesting is during this period of the Meiji Restoration, Meiji sends out basically to all the different countries in the world people to go learn in their universities, people to take traditions and things like that, and to bring it back to Japan. This is where I think a lot of the like things that they do in Japan for Christmas time or Karismasu time is they brought back from the European countries the Christmas markets. They brought back the lights that you hang up. They brought back basically a capitalist, let's buy a bunch of shit for Christmas. One thing that's interesting is Christmas in Japan is seen as more of like a romantic holiday, not really like a family get-together holiday. Oh, yeah.
We'll definitely get to that when we do traditions. That is completely in line with some of the dates that I had found, that right around 1873, Christianity was kind of allowed again under the Meiji Restoration period.
Yeah.
And like basically this kind of what that actually explains probably the why they're sending people out to learn from different, academic sites and different cultures. And then when they brought that back, they're like, yo, like we definitely should probably like let this happen for a better populace. So then from that moment, it was kind of like a snowball effect to, pun maybe intended, that it's basically that like from that 1873, Santa Claus was introduced at its current known form. I think Thomas Nash was the guy that first illustrated our modern depiction in Europe. Or maybe he was American. I don't know. Somewhere in the West, he depicted the modern take of Santa before Coca-Cola got their grubby hands on him. That a year later...
And those fucking polar bears.
Those fucking polar bears, dude. They got nothing to do with it. Leave them alone. Quit having them drink your weird syrups, dude. In 1874, Santa Claus was kind of introduced into the Japanese cultural zeitgeist, and then it kind of steamrolled from there. Japanese department stores started putting out Christmas trees in 1904. The first public depiction, there was depictions of Santa around. The first depiction of Santa in a newspaper was in 1906. So we're getting within a single, like, half a generation, like, from, okay, Christianity's good again to all this stuff. And then by the 1930s, the Christmas shopping season was now kind of considered this seasonal event, like to the point where you're saying the capitalistic onboarding, right? Part of that was that Christmas shopping season. It wouldn't be until, I don't know if you got in the middle of the 1980s where we start to get more some of this traditional stuff. But up to that point, as that Christmas shopping season grew, the Japanese government was actually using it to kind of ping the economic growth, like the people's engagement within the Christmas shopping season. They would actually use metrics from that to measure the year past's economic boom or wane. So it was kind of interesting. They were using it kind of as a benchmark of sorts to see how the country's doing on a money scale. And I think that it tracks, like, bad season, like bad year. People don't have a lot of cash. Economically took a downturn. A lot of people aren't going to want to engage very heavily in the Christmas shopping season.
Yeah, I think you'll probably see that in America this year. Cost of everything has really risen, and like money to pockets is down. So I think there's probably an index about it. You know how there's like always random indexes on things?
My favorite one is the Waffle House Disaster Index.
Right, exactly.
My favorite shit, yeah.
Incredible.
It's very informal, but seems to correlation equals does not equal causation, but it could be useful information. The Christmas shopping season certainly can be one of those things.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about two things, and then we can hop back into the
80s.
Yeah, the 80s.
Power of the 80s, yeah.
So I wanted to mention, because, you at home probably like us don't know shit about either the Shinto or Buddhist traditions.
My knowledge is cursory at best.
Right. So I'm going to start with Shinto, because that is a major player in Japan, especially at the time that all this is starting to really happen. Quickly, Jinja is a Shinto temple. And they do not celebrate Christmas, as in, like, of course, they don't, have Jesus.
They don't got that Jesus guy around too much.
Stuff, but
yeah.
I was reading this guy's blog, who I guess he's like a Shinto enthusiast.
A Shinthusiast?
Yeah,
okay.
Shinthusiast.
Sure.
So he basically says there is not really a connection at all between Christmas and Shinto, but he suspects that there are two reasons for this. One is that Jinja are on December 25th very busy getting ready for Hatsumoto, and they do not want to add something else at that point. Hatsumoto is, you've seen it in almost every anime where the New Year's comes around and you have to go to the temple and do your double clap prayer thing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's the first Buddhist temple or Shinto shrine visit of the Japanese New Year. Many visit on the first, second, or third day of the year, as most are off work on those days. Generally, wishes for the New Year are made. New omamori, charms or amulets, are bought, and the old ones are returned to the shrine so they can be cremated.
Love that.
There are often long lines in major shrines throughout Japan. Once again, this is something that you see in every single anime. If there's ever like a over the year kind of
like New Year festival, essentially,
right,
yeah.
New Year festival. One thing that is interesting is people do not get off of work for Christmas. It is not like a national holiday at all.
That is true. Okay, I did read it in a lot of places. It's not considered a quote unquote national holiday.
Right. So, Christmas is not Japanese, so of course they're less inclined to like really get into that spirit. And therefore, it's not really appropriate for a Jinja. Although Christmas is popular, it is popular as a foreign import, and he suspects a lot of Japanese people think that Americans eat KFC on Christmas days as well.
We will get to that in a little bit.
It is just possible. It is just as possible that there is some concern about the fact that the original like meaning of it is from a Christian festival, but there's no hint of Christianity in Christmas as celebrated in Japan.
Kind of purely secular in that way. Yeah.
So there are about 80,000 Jinja in Japan, and he thinks that there is almost certainly at some, a few of them or whatever, some Christmas events. So it's not necessarily like fully devoid, but he says it's just such like a busy season getting ready for that New Year. Like every person in Japan has to go to a New Year shrine.
Yeah.
So it's kind of important to get all that kind of stuff set up. So it's definitely like a working day for them.
Yeah.
For Buddhists, I found this really interesting. Their version of Christmas is called Vesak.
Ooh, okay.
It's actually celebrated in spring. It is a holiday that marks Buddha's birth and his death and enlightenment, with paper lanterns, gifts, and the bathing of a baby Buddha statue.
Okay, that's just like efficiency, right? They just wrap Christmas and Easter all in one.
Right.
The birth, Christmas, death and resurrection, Easter. Let's just slap it all into one place. I love that.
So even though Buddha was born many moons ago, Vesek's current iteration is a recent development in the tradition's 2,500-year history, says Dr. Hwan-Soo Kim, a associate professor of religious studies at Yale University and author of The Korean Buddhist Empire, a Transnational History, which covers the topic. In fact, celebrating the life of Shakyamuni, the historical Buddha, is a thoroughly modern practice. Vesek has been celebrated throughout Buddhist history, but the emphasis on the historical Buddha rather than other deities and bodhisattvas started as a way to unite Buddhism across Asia in the colonial period. According to Kim, Vesak, as a really festive, massive, and theatrical holiday, started in Sri Lanka in the late 19th century. After colonizing that country in 1815, the British had banned Buddhist celebrations, a move that was supported by Christian missionaries. Buddhist leaders, including the Theosophist Colonel Henry Steele Olcott.
What the fuck?
I don't know. Basically, I think it probably means like a theologian, but for some reason it's just written like an idiot.
It's theologian with extra steps.
And the Buddhist revivalist and writer Anagarika Dharmapala petitioned the colonial government to reintroduce Buddha's birthday and designate it a national holiday. This new Vesak day looked a lot like Christmas, and that wasn't on accident either. Modern Vesak celebrations were based on characteristics of Christian holidays, with cards, carols, gifts, and parades.
Hey,
Even a Buddhist flag that ended up recovering a sense of pride among Sri Lankan Buddhists who had been marginalized in society under the colonial rule. So, it's, I think, interesting that they've taken a little bit of pieces from Christmas celebrations, and they're able to kind of use what I think they're getting at is that Christmas as a concept, having the carols, having the get together with your family, having the, like, you know, the hallmarks of like a holiday,
right,
an event, have helped it like stay around and be relevant.
Right, just the
and
natural.
So they've taken those pieces,
the natural, like all the participatory elements of it.
Right, exactly.
Right? Yeah, so it keeps people engaged. Along those lines, I found in my research, I found some interesting stuff. As we mentioned, Santa Claus appeared in 1906, and in newspapers and stuff, it was brought over even earlier. But there is some analog in Japan to Santa, and it's kind of credited to why the idea of a guy that looks like Santa aesthetically and what he represents in his folklore kind of married pretty well to what Japanese, religious iconography already kind of serviced. So I wanted to bring up that, one, Santa Claus is super popular in Japan with kids. In 2020, All Nippon Airways, ANA, delivered more than 80,000 letters to Santa from children all over just Japan, which is pretty big. That's pretty cool. And fun fact, they actually genuinely believe, not in the North Pole, but that he lives in Lapland, Finland, which is pretty, like, Lapland is a place in Finland where they, like, set up, like, literally all of Santa's village and his workshop and stuff. They go balls to the wall.
I mean, it's really far up there.
Yeah, right.
It may as well be the North Pole.
Exactly. So when it comes to Santa, there was, like, kind of already an analog in Japanese mythology. There's a god, one of the 7 lucky gods, also known as the Shichifukujin, named Hote. He is kind of depicted as this very kind of almost traditionally Buddhistic, like people who look at him like, oh, that's Buddha, when everyone knows that's like not actually Buddha. Big bald head, big belly, and he's his name actually is he's considered the laughing Buddha. Like, he's basically shown off his fat belly, and they believe he was based on a real person named Budai, who died in 916 AD, and later revered in Buddhism, thinking he's a Chinese monk. But his name, in kanji, his name means cloth sack, where he's depicted wandering with a sack and howling with laughter. He's popular with kids, represented in classic art, squealing with glee whenever he's around children. Hence, it's not very difficult to see why he kind of marries. He's married to, like, Santa in that image. They saw him come over from the Western canon, like, oh, that looks very much like Hote. Like, we'll fuck around with that. But he's got a couple differences that I found very interesting. While Santa obviously has toys and presents in his sack, Hotai's sack, depending on the legend, contains anything from clothing, modest clothing, to just a single rice plant, to the entire collected woes of the world.
Oh, it's basically like Pandora's sack.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But he's like, he contains them so the world can have joy. So he takes them. It might represent his role as a wandering monk, collecting few poor possessions as a poor but happy vagabond. But some legends show that he takes those woes to bring fortune and joy to everyone he encounters thanks to his magic bag. Receiving his blessing or asking for a wish is harder than Santa, where you just kind of, you write him, I want a fucking Xbox, and he's like, screw you, go ask Microsoft. Basically, he will grant wishes if several people request the same thing at the same time. So, like, it's almost like a collective offering or request.
I want a new Tonka truck.
Everyone in your village.
Ethan a new Tonka truck.
Everyone in the village wants Ethan to have a new Tonka truck. And you may get it from Hote. Basically, he's also, what I found interesting too, he's very often depicted as curmudgeon-y or very, like, in front of when he's depicted with old people. He, like, just doesn't like being depicted with old people at all.
I mean, I guess they are, like, not, funny.
Yeah, he basically looks practically miserable.
He's tired of all the dad jokes, probably.
Especially when he's depicted next to the 6 other lucky gods. He just doesn't he's not a fan of visiting his relatives for the holidays, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's also part of that camp.
So he's in the spirit.
Yeah, so I mean, like, they also children had an analog already, like, in a lot of Japanese mythology, but borrowed very much from Buddhism in the Chinese tradition. But definitely very much had a very heavy influence on Japan around the 17 and 1800s and even earlier on. So when they saw that Santa guy, this big jolly old fellow with a magic sack and magic robes, yeah, we can understand that. That may be a reason why he stuck on so hard is because they kind of like, it's Hote. Yeah, I can fuck around with this. Yeah, I'll drink Coke. It's cool. Like, it's whatever. But yeah, so we kind of get into the 1980s, and this is where you see a lot of the modern traditions we're going to talk about start to take shape. The 80s is really a time of huge economic boom. A lot of, I guess you would call them yuppies over here. They just had a lot of money to burn, and many corporations took advantage of that through like commercialism and capitalism. Magazines were gearing more towards younger generation about the concept of like a capitalistic spin on Christmas, as we see now and now here. But it's also, this is around the time you mentioned that they were kind of spinning because of the younger generation were trying to find love. Marriage was a big deal during this economic boom. They were gearing it towards a day of romance, very in line with getting your loved one's X gift or Y gift to be romantic. Ads saying only if you want your gal to say yes, get these things for her on Christmas. So to your point, it's a very romantic holiday. Now maybe geared a bit towards the family, but it's still very much in line with like, this is a day of romance. So for a lot of the Japanese public, it's kind of like they treat it like their Valentine's Day. Like, this is the time you do that with your SO, your bae, your main squeeze,
Yeah.
The main squeeze. So, I mean, leading all the way up to now, I want to maybe get into some of the traditions. I think I wanted to do the biggie. What the fuck is the deal with KFC and Christmas in Japan? What the hell? If you don't know, KFC is the de facto premier Christmas dinner. Thanksgiving has turkey in the States. There's Christmas hams left and right. In Japan, no. It's motherfucking fried chicken from the good old state of Kentucky. You know what I'm feeling? So how did this happen? So what I found interesting, everything, the entire idea can be traced back to one man, Takeshi Okawara. Oh, wow, I fucked that up. Let me go again. Takeshi Okawara, the enterprising manager of the first ever KFC in Japan, opened in Nagoya in November 1970. The company line that they attribute to this day is that Okawara had a dream about selling a party bucket full of chicken and started a one-store campaign to boost sales because he opened the first KFC. The reason why he had the dream in the first place, he allegedly overheard an expat saying that they missed eating turkey for Christmas and that Christmas, chicken was the next best option during the festive season. So when he opened that, he said, whatever the case or whatever that may be, his venture came to set the tone for Christmas in Japan for decades to come after the winter of 1974. He had the fried chicken party bucket that we, just big bucket, went national in 1974 with an ad called Kentucky is Christmas.
Yeah.
Kentucky is Christmas. It's basically, it caught on. Wildfire might be an understatement because it captivated the nation. They, at the time of the mid 70s to into the 80s, the idea of American capitalism was very idealized because of the promise of its economic boom under said structure. So they were looking at anything American was like hotcakes, baby. Let's go. Give me that.
That's when sumo wrestling became.
No. I was going to say, weird coincidence.
Showed up.
So yeah,
that first little kid who had Christmas KFC decided, you know what, I'm going to eat this every single day. And then he turned into Yoshinobu, go fuck yourself. And he's the biggest 9 million pound sumo wrestler of all time.
No one can even step into the ring. He is the ring. What do you attribute it to, sir? Party bucket, all the chicken skins.
KFC for Christmas.
This is awful. But yeah, that was really it. There was also, I think it was also two-pronged because one, obviously the American influence saying like Kentucky is Christmas. Everyone's like, oh fuck, I want this now. But the lack of what you were kind of mentioning before, like concrete, long-standing Christmas traditions, where yes, it was a holiday. It wasn't a national holiday, and they kind of cherry-picked certain traditions. But the lack of their own, seized tradition for Christmas in Japan, also there's been anecdotal evidence that, the Colonel when dressed up in some Santa garb has a real Santa look to him. If you kind of look at that, those three things. Holy shit. Yeah, Ethan just showed me. We'll put that in the Discord for sure. But yeah, when dressed up, he looks kind of like fucking Santa. There's really no way around it. All this kind of brewed into a complete cultural zeitgeist. So how big of a deal is it? Let's get the numbers down. Well, apparently a third of KFC's yearly sales are Christmas in Japan. Like, numbers, like buckets. It's hardly a cheap experience. So here's what the standard party box contains traditionally: an 8-piece bucket of chicken, a shrimp gratin, and a chocolate cake.
Fucking yummy.
And you want to get here? Let's do a little Price is Wrong. Do you have the number in front of you?
I do.
Fuck. Okay. So it is 4,580 yen, aka just north of $32 US. Again, it's, considering the way that fast food prices are going nowadays, it's not unheard of, but that's a pretty penny, I'd say, for what you get.
Yeah, for what you get, absolutely. For like a quote unquote Christmas meal, though, I feel like that's within
right. If you're gonna like feed a family of 4,
yeah,
you can fuck around with that. Yeah. So to the point where it's like how popular it is, not just the numbers, sales basically start like right like in November, and you have to reserve a spot. And to the point where they basically had to spread this out because Christmas, the day, is not like, to your point, this big national holiday. They've kind of spread out actually delivering the sales over the week of Christmas just to keep up with demand.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
These little bastards love them KFC.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just quickly added in a couple extra things. The campaign was really simple. Like you said, it was Kentucky for Christmas or KFC is Christmas. And basically the simple message is Christmas at Christmas time, you eat chicken. It was all over the TV, all over the radio, yada, yada, yada. But it was really successful, and which is good because KFC, like you said, didn't have many restaurants at the time. They had racked up almost $1 million of debt in Japan at that time.
That's an interesting spin. Didn't see that.
And that was in 1971. So 4 years later, when they started doing this, they started generating sales averaging $29,000 each month.
What the fuck?
So that helped overall buoy the ships, let's just say. And then also they see a doubling of monthly profits in December. So today they have 1,200 stores across Japan. In fact, there's a 3-story KFC, like Schwanky in Tokyo, that has a fully stocked whiskey bar involved.
Let's fucking go, dude.
And they also have extended this concept even farther. And in 2012 and 2013, passengers leaving Japan on selected flights to the U.S. and Europe were served with in-flight KFC meals.
Yo,
over
dude.
the Christmas period.
Where the fuck is my KFC in the sky, man? I've only ever had
Honestly, I'd be down as fuck rather than those like, here's your cheese enchilada that we literally just fucking microwave.
Here's your $15 bucket of charcuterie.
Yeah.
You piggy. You little piggy. Eat it. Eat it. What choice do you have? You're 30,000 feet up and you're starving because you didn't have the foresight to go to a Qdoba, wherever the fuck. Sorry, I'm just reliving a personal experience.
Yeah, it feels like it.
Yeah. So along with the KFC, there's other traditions that come along too, including the Christmas cake. Apparently, this is very European in origin, but this really took off around the same time in the mid 1970s. So the reason kind of why the Japanese has adopted this kind of cake during Christmas time is more for like festivities, obviously, and good fortune, but there's a very specific kind of cake using a combination of white in the form of whipped cream and red in the form of strawberries. In Japan, this combination of red and white is known as kohaku, which literally means good fortune. Like, it's associated with good fortune.
Oh.
So stuff like this, like a cream and strawberry kind of cake. Very simple. Again, meant to be shared very much with a loved one.
Yeah, I'd plow that cake, dude.
I would.
Loved one.
I was gonna say, is the cake your loved one on that day? it will be loved.
Hey, man, what can I say?
When
I
cake looks
saw
that
something
good.
where they were like, if you're single on Christmas, don't be seen in public. I'm like, what the fuck?
Holy shit. Is that a really thing?
That's what I saw. I don't know if that is reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and other traditions they do have, they do presents, they do gifts, very much for kids as well. To the point, like I said, they very much are down with the old Claus man, so like they really love that. But Japanese kids traditionally only get one gift from their parents, which I think is honestly a fucking great thing.
Yeah.
That needs to be a thing. Yeah.
I think we should just give kids books and be like, good luck. You better start liking them.
So another Christmas tradition in the West is the Christmas stocking. You know, hang it from your mantle. You get little gifts from Santa that comes down the chimney. But in Japan, kids enjoy something similar with one key difference. It's a Christmas boot.
Oh.
The Christmas boot.
Holy boot.
They're fashioned like Christmas stockings. Christmas boots popped up in the 1960s, and now they're very common through Japan today. Just like other countries, they contain candies, snacks, and small toys believed to be derived from St. Nicholas Day on December 5th. 6th? Somewhere around there?
I don't know.
Yeah, you ever do the thing back in the day where you leave shoes at your doorstep and you get little candies and shit inside?
I sure have not.
Maybe my family did it. We got a lot of like old German traditions in our family, and that's like St. Nicholas and the day before Krampusstein, or like I think it's like Krampus night or some shit.
Yeah.
If you were not good the night prior all year, Krampus would come and like eat your toes or some shit.
Yeah, he'd like take a shit in your shoe or something.
He'd take a shit in your shoe, but you wouldn't
then
really
you
be able to
find out
smell
it smells like your parents, and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Shout out to all the parents to commit to not only to Santa Claus, but to fucking Krampus if you raise them little shits.
Very impressive.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, Christmas lights. Very popular given the romantic slant. People will kind of gear, Christmas light shows or spots to be
Tokyo Tower itself.
Yeah, to be a romantic area. Like
yeah.
So it's meant to.
Did you know that the coal in the stockings actually originally was just piles of shit?
Is that a real thing?
No.
Oh, god damn it! Yeah. See, there could have been. There could have been a thing right there. I'm not sure, but I don't know enough about the tradition of coal.
Yeah. It's probably a good thing, to be honest. Oh, hell yeah, I can actually heat my house for another day.
Yeah, right. And that's probably the thing too, is like in an economic standing, I wonder if there's an economic slant to like the coal element. Like, all you can afford is coal, so all we're gonna spend on you is coal.
We're going to heat you so you don't die of frostbite. And then you're like, thanks, parents.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
This is actually so sick.
Merry Christmas. But yeah, I mean, that's really where we are in the modern day. Christmas being a more of a subdued holiday, but very much participated in. With the romantic slant, it is, children still have their time and they get present, singular, and do right to Santa. But it really has taken on this more capitalistic form of, you don't really, as a consumer, buy for the child. You buy for the SO. You engage in the KFC. You engage in a very different flavor of Christmas altogether. Which there are parts of it I like. There are parts of it I do like more here. I'd prefer to eat KFC on Christmas than ham. I'm not the biggest ham guy. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty agnostic to my meats on Christmas. I'll eat whatever meat you put in front of me, basically.
Oh, I'm not going to say I won't wolf down some ham, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is interesting that it's sort of like their Valentine's Day. I don't know how they got to that, though. I do think like, the idea of like cuffing season, or like, oh, it's nice. Let's get comfy and like, go stroll around the town. Let's go to the Christmas markets. Like there is, I think, some, I don't know. There's just something about like the Eastern European, or not Eastern European, the Western European version of like Christmas markets, the snow, the like, oh, it's like snowing in Grindelwald, Switzerland,
Yeah.
And just like kind of that aesthetic is pretty like cozy and like romantic somewhat.
The thing for me is one of the big differences, and it might be more of an economic nuance take, but the idea that the child gets one gift, the slant is very much on the consumer and their lives and not at the behest of the child. I think Western big corporations around this time have really understood that if you have the kids in the palm of your hand, they have the wallet of the parent in the palm of theirs. So that is why children's advertising is so insane and like bombastic and really appeals to like kids of certain very striated like sects of ages and groups, because they know that that parent, like they're trying to do kind of this transitive property of getting the parent to spend for the kid and leveraging the kid's desire and balking maybe to get the parent to do that. In Japan, there's obviously much more of a sense of obedience. The parent is right. Like the expectation that your parents to get you something is so minimal, right? Like you honor your parents, you don't demand much from them in a lot of cases. So I wonder if they just gave up on the idea that like going after the kid is not the way we get them to spend. Going after their sensibilities of pleasing or pleasing their loved one or gaining a loved one. I find that very interesting where they took that slant. It's a very smart take on Japanese adult culture.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like you do advertise to children here specifically.
Yeah.
I do not know what the situation is in Japan. Maybe they do the same thing, because you would think all you got to do is get your foot in the door with a couple kids and then all the kids will want it, because like not only is there peer pressure and stuff like that here, but over there it's like potentially even more aggressive.
I'd say so too, because with I think kids of a certain age group, it's very, you want to talk about striated even within like a juvenile group, where it's like if you don't have X, if you're not up and at 'em, like if you're not popular, get the fuck out of my sight, dude. Like,
we'll kill you.
Yeah, we'll literally bully you into therapy.
Eat your soul.
So yeah, maybe that's more true now, where they can appeal to children. We've seen crazy Japanese ads that are like for candies and toys and stuff, and they're fucking wild. Like they're wild. But I think back in the day, at the time of Japanese Christmas traditions getting cemented, hitting the heart of the person with the money by saying, do X, Y, and Z, buy A, B, and C, and you will get or please your loved one, sounds like a perfect through line for a budding economy, a bunch of yuppie culture, young men specifically, maybe some women, but I can totally see it gearing like, you want to make your woman happy?
Diamonds are forever.
Diamonds. Get her a fucking cake, dude. Get her an 8-piece combo with a bevy. Like that's with the gratin, dude. And if you forget the cake, she will fucking leave you.
I will say the shrimp gratin is like out of this world.
That's
weird.
Out of pocket. Did you see the picture of it? It's like a little, I'll show you. It's in a little like cauldron, like a nice like a French onion pot. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to eat that.
Okay, that actually looks good as fuck.
It looks kind of fire, right? And then they have like this kind of like pie, like red and white.
I
like
take
it
back. These are fire.
Yeah, right. Kentucky's Christmas, dude.
Why? It's probably like better chicken and stuff over there too.
Infinitely better chicken.
You know, like just like actually cooked and like not.
You can even tell the breading on that bitch is just like it's almost cleaner. It's
tempura.
Almost, it's like looks like tempura. Yeah. I would eat that all day. But I mean, you know, it's cool to kind of see like the way that Christmas takes many forms in other cultures. I've been watching a lot of like evolution of Santa internationally videos, and it kind of sparked that interest of this topic. And Japan's, I think the interesting part of its tattered history with Christianity kind of gave it, this kind of void for capitalism to really sink in as the foundation of modern Christian culture, rather than in a lot of other Western European countries. They had theirs for literally ages. We're talking like potentially like 4 or 5th BC AC. BC would be wild. Imagine Santa just around. Well, Krampus
AC after Christmas.
After AC. AD after decking halls. That's what it is. Obviously, dude. But yeah, the idea of Krampus comes from real old Germanic Alpine lore. Like we're talking potentially even older than that. So it's kind of interesting to see all of that stuff, and specifically in Japan. But I think that's
Merry Christmas. That's all we can say.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, guys. Thank you for coming to this special holiday edition of the Weebology podcast. Everyone here in the lab, everyone in the lab, all wish you a very happy holidays and a wonderful New Year's. If you would like to discuss or any kind of fun facts or what you're doing for Christmas, just show us what we're doing. We're going to be just chowing down, and I'm going to be neck deep in eggnog. I know that. Like swimming in it. Like in a literal bathtub full of eggnog. It's good for my skin, dude.
Concerning.
It's good for my skin. It's good for my psyche.
Is it good for your skin?
It's bad for my card, dude.
Yeah.
It's not good for my wallet. But if you want to come talk about Christmas or just share your holiday spirit in the Discord, patreon.com/weebology, $1 and up, get you in there with all the Patreon folk and anyone we've had as a guest in the past. If you want to leave us a like, comment, subscribe, or see a little bit of the merch for the holiday spirit, weebology.com. And we know you're on a platform, guys. I'm still chill, but I can feel myself in 2024. The rage is building to critical mass, and I might be mad again because I know you guys aren't clicking over and down over 235 episodes of the Weebology podcast, where you can take the holiday break and really catch up on some current classics and everything in between, like this episode. Sometimes we just do history. Sometimes we just hang out and just chat with y'all.
That's so true.
It's very much the holiday spirit. But until I can find my way out of my eggnog pool situation, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Ethan.
And this has been Weebology.
Merry Christmas!
Actually, the 3,500 gallons of eggnog just showed up.
Oh
so
my God.
I don't know how I'm going to get it to my parents'
house. It's in vats.
It is in vats.